A finger rests on a trigger. Cold metal, the kind of cold that seeps through gloves and into bone. Above, stars pierce the Afghan sky like shrapnel frozen in black glass. The wind carries the smell of snow and stone and something older. War, maybe, or just the mountains remembering. Morgan Barrett lies prone on a ridgeline 8,000 feet above sea level. Her breath comes in controlled cycles. 4 seconds in. Hold. 6 seconds out. The rhythm her instructors drilled into her at Camp Pendleton 7 years ago. The rhythm that kept her alive through 3 deployments and 42 confirmed kills. Through the Schmidt and Bender scope mounted on her M40A6, she can see a man. 1,600 meters downrange. He stands in a compound courtyard, hands clasped behind his back, watching the eastern horizon where dawn will break in 40 minutes. The thermal imaging paints him in shades of orange and red. Alive. Warm. Human. Her radio crackles. Static, then a voice, calm, professional. Frost, you are cleared hot. Target is confirmed. Wind 12 knots, east-northeast. Temperature 38 degrees. You have the shot. She does have the shot. Perfect conditions. The math is simple. Elevation drop, Coriolis effect, air density at altitude. Her mind calculates it in 2 seconds. The numbers are clean. The window is open. Frost, confirm. Will you take the shot? Morgan's finger tightens. Half a pound of pressure. Then another quarter pound. She's at the break point. 1 more ounce and the firing pin drops. 1 more ounce and Victor Constantine, arms dealer and architect of atrocities, stops breathing. But she doesn't pull. Something is wrong. Her gut screams it. The same instinct that saved her in Mosul when an IED was buried 3 inches too shallow and the dirt showed a color just slightly off. The same instinct that kept her breathing when others didn't make it home. Negative, she says into the radio. Mission parameters have changed, requesting immediate exfil. Silence. 3 seconds of it. Then the voice again, sharper now. Say again, Frost, you have authorization. Target is confirmed hostile. I said no, Frost out. She releases the trigger, rolls left, begins breaking down her hide site in the darkness. Below, the compound remains quiet. The man in the courtyard turns and walks inside, unaware he was 4 ounces of pressure away from death. The stars watch. They always do. 72 hours earlier, the world was different, simpler. Morgan Barrett was just another Marine Scout sniper running her morning 10 miles through the California darkness. Camp Pendleton at 0500 looked like every other morning. Fog rolling in from the Pacific. The smell of diesel and JP ate fuel from the motor pool. Boots on pavement. The sound of a military base waking up to do what military bases do. Prepare for war. She finished her run at exactly 0615. Not because she needed to prove anything. Morgan had stopped needing to prove things 3 years ago when she made her first kill shot at 1,100 meters in Helmand Province. She ran because discipline is what separates Marines from civilians. Discipline is what keeps you alive when the universe is trying very hard to make you dead. Her barracks room was exactly as she left it. Rack made with hospital corners. Boots aligned, rifle case locked and tagged. On her desk, an envelope waited. Red striped, eyes only. The kind of envelope that changes everything. She opened it, standing up. Read it twice. The orders were simple. Report to DevGru Liaison, Bagram Airbase, Afghanistan, 1,800 hours today. Bring long-range kit, authorization level. CENTCOM. Signed by Colonel Hayes, JSOC Operations. Morgan didn't smile, didn't frown. She folded the paper once, placed it in her pocket, and began packing her gear. 30 minutes later, her ruck was ready. 70 pounds of equipment. Rifle, ammunition, ghillie suit, observation gear, medical kit. 3 days of rations. Everything she needed to kill or survive, usually in that order. As she zipped the bag closed, her hand paused on the rifle case. Custom-built M40A6. She'd carried it through Fallujah, Mosul, Kandahar. 42 confirmed kills. 42 men who woke up that morning not knowing they'd chosen the wrong day to be in her crosshairs. The case opened with a soft click. Inside, the rifle lay in foam cutouts. Barrel, stock, scope, bipod. She cleaned it 2 days ago but checked it again anyway. Muscle memory, hands moving through the ritual of inspection. Bolt, chamber, trigger, assembly. And then the memory hit. Mosul, June 2019. Temperature 112 degrees. Morgan was on overwatch, fourth floor of a partially collapsed building. Below, a Marine patrol moved through the market district. 12 men, young, confident, scanning doorways and windows like they'd been trained. Morgan watched from 400 meters out. Her job was simple: see threats, eliminate threats, keep the patrol breathing. She saw the man in the doorway. Civilian clothes, hands in pockets. He stood too still. Everyone in Mosul moved in 2019. Staying still meant you were waiting for something. Waiting usually meant dying. Morgan centered the crosshairs on his chest. Her finger found the trigger, but protocol demanded confirmation. She keyed her radio. Overwatch to patrol, possible hostile, 3 o'clock. Blue door, request confirmed before engagement. The patrol leader's voice came back. Stand by. Morgan waited. 5 seconds, 10, 15. The man's hand came out of his pocket. Not a weapon, a phone. He pressed a button. The street exploded. 300 pounds of homemade explosive packed in a drainage culvert. The blast wave shattered windows 3 blocks away. When the dust cleared, 3 Marines were dead, 5 more wounded. The man in the doorway was gone. After action review, found the phone trigger in the rubble. Found the man's safe house 2 blocks north. Found his name and his allegiance and his 23 previous attacks. They also found that Morgan had the shot. Clear line, perfect angle, 40 seconds before the detonation. She'd waited for confirmation because that's what the rules of engagement demanded. She'd followed protocol. Protocol got 3 Marines killed. The investigating officer, Colonel James Shepard, cleared her of any wrongdoing. Officially. But privately, he'd pulled her aside in the briefing room afterward and said 6 words that lived in her head ever since. You hesitated. That's a weakness, Sergeant. Morgan closed the rifle case. Her hands weren't shaking. They never shook anymore. She whispered to the empty room. Never again. 18 hours later, she stepped off a C-130 at Bagram Airbase into heat that hit like a fist. Afghanistan in late summer. Dust and fuel fumes and the particular smell of a war that had been going on so long, nobody remembered why it started. A Humvee waited on the tarmac. The driver, a young private with eyes that had already seen too much, said nothing. Just drove. Through the base, past rows of containerized housing units, past the airfield where Black Hawks sat like sleeping insects, past the motor pool in the hospital and the PX. They stopped at a nondescript building marked only with a number. Building 47. The private pointed. They're waiting for you, Sergeant. Inside, the air conditioning was a shock after the heat. The hallway smelled like every military building Morgan had ever been in. Floor wax and old coffee and the faint chemical tang of cleaning supplies. A door at the end stood open. She walked through. The man behind the desk was 45, maybe 50. Silver threads in his dark hair. Face like carved granite. He wore Navy fatigues with no name tape, just rank insignia. Lieutenant Commander, seal trident on his chest, eyes that measured her in 2 seconds and made a decision. Sergeant Morgan Barrett, he said. Not a question. Yes, sir. Call me Kane, Daniel Kane. We don't have time for formalities. He gestured to a chair. Morgan remained standing. Kane noticed. Approved. He turned a laptop screen toward her. Satellite imagery, a compound in rough terrain, mountains in the background. The resolution was good enough to count windows. This is 60 kilometers inside Pakistan. Officially, we're not there. Officially, this conversation never happened. But reality doesn't care about official. Morgan studied the image. What am I looking at? Victor Constantine, former GRU, current arms dealer, sold weapons to everyone from Hezbollah to the Sinaloa cartel. 3 months ago, he acquired a dirty bomb, cesium-137 packed around conventional explosives. Not enough to level a city, but enough to make Bagram uninhabitable for 20 years. Morgan's expression didn't change. When? Our intelligence says he's moving it within 72 hours. Once it leaves that compound, we lose it. 5,000 Americans work on this base. Another 2,000 coalition forces. If that bomb detonates here, we're looking at the worst attack on U.S. forces since Beirut in 1983. Kane pulled up another image, a man's face, late 50s, gray beard, cold eyes. Constantine comes out every morning at 0600 for morning prayers. Faces east, stands in the courtyard for exactly 4 minutes. It's the only time he's exposed. It's the only shot we get. Why me? Morgan asked. Kane's jaw tightened. Our primary sniper, Petty Officer Daniels, is in surgery right now. Appendicitis. Removed him from the roster 8 hours ago. CENTCOM forwarded your file. 42 confirmed kills. Longest shot on record for a female Marine Scout sniper. Instructor rating, expert marksman badge. You're the backup. Question is, are you the best backup? Morgan looked at the satellite image again. At the compound, at the mountains, at the man who held 5,000 lives in his hands and didn't care. When do we leave? 1800 hours, you'll link up with my team, SEAL Team 3, call sign Wolfpack. We insert via halo jump 10 kilometers from target. You set overwatch at 1,600 meters. Constantine appears at 00600. You put 1 round center mass. We exfil by helo. 36-hour operation, start to finish. And if Constantine doesn't show, Kane's face hardened. Then we call an airstrike and pray the bomb doesn't cook off when the JDAMs hit. Morgan nodded once. I'll need to zero my rifle, check wind conditions, review terrain maps. You've got 4 hours. Make them count. She turned to leave. Kane's voice stopped her. Barrett, Frost, whatever they call you. My guys are the best in the world at what they do. But today you're the most important person on this mission. Constantine dies or 5,000 Americans might. No pressure. Morgan looked back at him. Her voice was flat, professional. I don't miss, Commander. The briefing room 40 minutes later held 5 men. Hard men. The kind who made violence look easy because they'd practiced it 10,000 hours until easy was all that remained. They wore civilian clothes, but everything about them screamed military. Posture, bearing, the way they moved, economy of motion. Nothing wasted. Kane made introductions rapid fire. Ryan Matthews, call sign Bull. Breacher, if a door exists, Bull makes it not exist. Bull was 6'4" and built like his namesake. Former college linebacker who found out he was better at breaking things than catching footballs. He nodded at Morgan. Didn't smile. Didn't need to. Eric Santos, medic, kept half of DevGru alive through 2 deployments. If you're bleeding, he's the one you want nearby. Santos was compact, Hispanic, quiet eyes that saw everything. He gave Morgan a small nod. James Coleman, comms. We call him Prophet because he predicts radio failures before they happen. Also because he's religious and we're assholes. Prophet was 32 with a wedding ring and probably kids at home. 3 of them, if the photos tucked in his vest pocket were any indication. He had the look of a man who'd made peace with violence, but hadn't let it define him. Rare in this community. Kane turned to the last man. Biggest of them all, shoulders that barely fit through standard doorways. And this is our former primary sniper's best friend, Tech Sergeant Mike Harrison. Explosive ordnance disposal. He's here because if we find that bomb, someone needs to make sure it doesn't detonate when we shoot near it. Harrison studied Morgan with the careful attention of a man who measured risk for a living. Ma'am, Sergeant, Morgan corrected. Harrison's eyebrow raised a fraction. You prefer Sergeant to ma'am? I prefer not needing a title at all. But if we're using them, I earn Sergeant. Nobody earns ma'am. Bull laughed. Sharp bark. I like her already. Kane pulled up imagery on the wall screen. Listen up. Insertion at 2200 tonight. Halo drop from 25,000 feet. Rally point here. He tapped the screen. 10-kilometer hump to Overwatch position. Frost sets up shop. Rest of us provide security and backup exfil. Questions? Prophet raised a hand. Rules of engagement? Constantine is cleared hot on sight. Anyone else in that compound is potential hostile, but we need confirmation before engagement. This is Pakistan, technically. We're not starting World War III because someone wandered into the wrong courtyard. Bull leaned forward. What about the bomb? We engaging the compound or just Constantine? Just Constantine. Bomb is secondary. We kill him, the network falls apart. No network, no delivery. Simple. Morgan spoke for the first time since entering the room. What if the bomb isn't there? Everyone turned to look at her. Kane's expression went carefully neutral. Intel says it is. Intel said there were WMDs in Iraq. I was there. There weren't. Bull whistled low. Damn. Kane's jaw worked. You have concerns, Sergeant. Voice them now. Morgan stepped to the screen, studied the compound, counted buildings, estimated population density, measured sight lines. This compound can hold maybe 30 people comfortably. Satellite shows 12 heat signatures. That's light. For an arms dealer moving a dirty bomb, I'd expect double that. Security, transport crew, Technical specialists to handle radioactive material. Where are they? Santos leaned in. She's got a point. Kane considered it. So what are you saying? I'm saying something feels off. Doesn't mean we abort, just means we stay flexible. If Constantine's there but the bomb isn't, we need options. Kane studied her. Long moment, then nodded. Noted, but mission stands. We kill Constantine, period. Everything else is secondary. Clear? Clear. Bull stood, massive frame unfolding. He walked over to Morgan, stopped 2 feet away, looked down at her from his considerable height. No offense, Sergeant, but Daniels could shoot the wings off a fly at 2,000 meters. In a sandstorm, at night. You really as good as your file says? Morgan met his eyes, didn't blink. There's a range on this base. You want proof? We'll get proof. Bull grinned, slow and dangerous. Yeah, I think I do. The range was empty at 1,500 hours. Too hot for anyone sane to be outside. Heat shimmered off the ground in waves. Downrange steel targets sat at various distances. 600 meters, 800, 1,000, 1,200. Bull carried the spotting scope. Santos came along to watch. Prophet stayed behind to prep comms gear. Harrison was doing whatever EOD techs did before missions, probably making peace with God. Kane supervised. He didn't say much, just watched. Morgan set up her rifle methodically. Bipod deployed, stock adjusted, scope caps removed. She built her shooting position the way a surgeon prepares an operating theater. Everything precise, everything deliberate. The 1,200-meter target was a steel plate, 12 inches in diameter. In this heat, with wind shifting, it was a challenging shot. Difficult, but not impossible. Bull settled behind the spotting scope. Whenever you're ready, Sergeant. Morgan loaded around, settled into position, controlled her breathing. The heat made the air dance. Wind was gusty, 8 knots from the east but shifting. She waited, 40 seconds, watching, feeling. Then the wind steadied. Brief window, 2 seconds, maybe 3. She fired. The suppressor muted the report to a sharp crack. Downrange 1,200 meters away, the steel plate rang like a bell. Bull's voice came flat. Hit, center mass. Santos whistled appreciation. Morgan chambered another round. Fired again, another hit. Then a third, fourth. On the 5th shot, the plate's mounting bracket sheared and it spun off into the dirt. Bull sat back from the scope, looked at Kane. Jesus Christ. Kane's expression didn't change. Acceptable, Sergeant. Morgan began breaking down her rifle. Will I do, Commander? Kane almost smiled. Almost. Yeah, you'll do. Bull stood, dusting off his pants. He extended a hand. My apologies, Sergeant Barrett. I doubted you. Won't happen again. Morgan shook it. Firm grip. Doubt keeps us sharp. Just don't let it make you sloppy. That night, at 21:30 hours, Morgan sat in the back of a C-130 with 5 SEALs and enough equipment to overthrow a small country. The aircraft climbed toward jump altitude, 25,000 feet. Cold up there, thin air, the kind of altitude where mistakes kill faster than bullets. She'd done 47 halo jumps. 47 times stepping out of a perfectly good aircraft and falling through darkness toward Earth. It never got comfortable. Anyone who said it did was lying. Bull checked her gear. Parachute, reserve chute, altimeter, oxygen. He was thorough, professional. When he finished, he gave her a thumbs up. Prophet handed out GPS units, tiny screens showing rally coordinates. We scatter on the drop, meet at the rally point. If you don't show in 30 minutes, we assume compromise and exfil without you. Cold math. Necessary math, Morgan understood. Kane spoke over the engine noise. Remember, we're ghosts. Nobody sees us. Nobody hears us. We do the job and vanish, like we were never there. The loadmaster gave the 10-minute warning. Everyone stood, checked gear one final time. Morgan's heart rate was 62 beats per minute. Resting rate. She'd learned years ago that panic and precision don't coexist. The ramp opened. Night sky and thin air and the absolute certainty that jumping out was insane. Morgan stepped to the edge with the others. Kane looked at each of them, nodded once. They jumped. Falling through darkness is like dying. Temporary, controlled, reversible if you do it right. Morgan tracked her altitude, 20,000 feet, 15, 10. The ground below was invisible, just darkness. Faith that the GPS was correct. Faith that physics still worked. At 4,000 feet, she pulled. The canopy deployed with a crack. Sudden deceleration. 40 seconds of glide toward coordinates she couldn't see. She landed in rocky terrain. Textbook PLF, parachute landing fall, roll, absorb impact, stand, pack the chute. The whole sequence took 90 seconds. The rally point was 800 meters north. She moved through the darkness using night vision. Green-tinted world, rocks and scrub, and the occasional thermal signature of small animals. Nothing human. Bull arrived first, then Santos, Prophet, Harrison, finally Kane. "Sound off," Kane whispered. They did. Everyone present. No injuries, no compromise. "Move out. 10 kilometers. We've got 5 hours before sunrise." They moved. Single file, 50-meter intervals. Silent as death. Morgan carried 60 pounds of gear, but her breathing never labored. 7 years of training, 3 deployments. Her body knew this work. The terrain was brutal. Loose rock, sudden drops, ridge lines that appeared without warning. They climbed, descended, climbed again. Time became meaningless. Just movement, just distance covered. At 0400, they reached the Overwatch position, a ridgeline 1,600 meters from Constantine's compound. Perfect elevation, perfect angle, perfect field of fire. Morgan began setting up her hide, ghillie net, camouflage, scope position, range cards. She had 2 hours until sunrise, 2 hours to become invisible. Bull and Santos took security positions 50 meters downslope. Prophet and Harrison stayed with Kane in a depression 200 meters back. Comms check every 30 minutes. Otherwise, radio silence. Morgan settled in, rifle positioned, scope calibrated. She ranged the compound, 1,612 meters. Wind currently calm, but would shift when the sun rose. Temperature 39 degrees, pressure steady. Through the scope, the compound slept. No lights, no movement, just buildings and walls and shadows. She waited. Waiting was 90% of sniper work. The other 10% was pulling a trigger. Most people couldn't handle the 90%. They got bored, fidgety, sloppy. Morgan had learned patience in the foster system. 7 homes before she aged out at 18. 7 times waiting for adults to decide if she was worth keeping. 7 times learning that waiting meant survival. The military just refined what childhood taught her. Sunrise came at 0553. Gradual. Beautiful. The mountains turned from black to purple to orange. Light spilled into the valley below. The compound emerged from darkness. Still no movement. 0600, morning prayer time. Morgan centered her crosshairs on the courtyard where Constantine was supposed to appear. Empty. 0615, still empty. Morgan keyed her radio, whispered, "Wolfpack 1, no target, compound appears dormant." Kane's voice came back. "Confirm, you see any movement at all?" She scanned methodically. Buildings, walls, windows, the gate, nothing. Negative, 0 movement, 0 thermal signatures. Silence on the radio, then Kane again. "Stand by." Morgan continued scanning. Something was wrong. The compound wasn't just quiet. It was abandoned. She could feel it, the way a house feels different when nobody's home. Empty. Waiting. She zoomed in on the main building's entrance. Door slightly ajar. In Pakistan, in winter, nobody leaves doors open overnight. Heat escapes. Wolfpack 1, main building doors open, unlikely if occupied. "Copy that. Harrison, you got thermal imaging on the sat feed?" Harrison's voice. "Checking. Stand by." 30 seconds. Then, negative thermal signatures inside compound. But I'm seeing fresh vehicle tracks. Multiple. Heading east. Less than 6 hours old. Bull's voice cut in. "So he rabbited?" Kane, "Looks that way. Frost, can you see the tracks?" Morgan adjusted her scope. Found them. 4 sets. Heavy vehicles. Deep impressions. Heading toward the valley road that led to Khyber Pass. Confirmed. 4 vehicles. Heavy loaded east toward Khyber. Kane swore quietly. "So we missed him. 12 hours. Maybe less." Prophet. "Tosi has no updated intel. Last sat pass showed him here 18 hours ago." Morgan continued studying the tracks. Something nagged at her. She zoomed in, followed them with the scope. "Wait, the tracks split." Kane, "Say again?" 3 vehicles went east, but 1 set of tracks goes south into the mountains. Silence. Then Bull. "South is a dead end. Nothing up there but rocks and snow." Morgan traced the southern tracks. They disappeared into rough terrain. No roads, just wilderness. Or a hide site. If I'm moving a dirty bomb and the U.S. military's hunting me, I send decoys east and hide the real package south where there's no satellites, no roads, No attention. Santos, that's a guess. It's tactics. Konstantin was GRU trained. Soviet doctrine always emphasized deception, multiple routes, decoys, misdirection. Kane's voice hardened with decision. Frost, you and I go south. Follow those tracks. Bull, Santos, Prophet. Harrison, call in air support on the eastern convoy. Split and search. Radio check every 30 minutes. Morgan began breaking down her hide site. Copy. Moving to your position. She low-crawled backward off the ridge line, took 4 minutes to cover 50 meters, stood only when she was behind the terrain mask, made her way to Kane's position. He was already packed, face set, eyes hard. You sure about this? He asked. No, but I'm sure the Eastern convoy is too obvious. Konstantin survived 20 years in this business by not being obvious. Kane shouldered his pack. Then we follow your gut. But if you're wrong and that bomb reaches Bagram, then 5,000 people die. And it's on me. I understand the stakes, Commander. Kane studied her. Yeah, I think you do. Let's move. They moved south, away from the team, away from support, into terrain that got rougher with every kilometer. No trails, just rocks and scree, and the constant risk of twisted ankles or worse. Morgan led. She was better at reading terrain, better at seeing the small signs, broken stems, disturbed rocks, the faint impressions that marked passage. 2 hours in, Kane called a halt. They'd covered 8 kilometers. The tracks were still visible, but harder to follow in the rocky ground. Water break, 5 minutes. Morgan drank, scanned their surroundings. They were in a narrow valley now, mountains on both sides, limited sight lines, tactically uncomfortable. Too many places for ambush. Kane seemed to read her thoughts. I don't like this terrain either. How much farther do you think? Tracks are 4 to 6 hours old. If they were moving a bomb, they wouldn't rush. Too much risk of damage. I'd say another 2, maybe 3 kilometers. Morgan nodded, capped her water bottle, started to speak. The bullet hit the rock 3 inches from Kane's head. Both of them dove, pure instinct, behind cover, weapons up, scanning for the shooter. Sniper, Kane hissed. Morgan was already moving, eyes searching, looking for muzzle flash, scope glint, any sign. There, 800 meters, ridgeline to the west. Slight reflection, professional hide. Excellent position. Got him, 800 meters, 2 o'clock high. Kane pulled his rifle. Can you take him? Morgan was already setting up. Bipod deployed, scope ranging. Wind was tricky here. Valley created eddies, unpredictable. She waited, watching, feeling. 30 seconds. The wind steadied, brief window. She fired. 800 meters away, on a ridgeline, a man in a ghillie suit jerked. Not a kill shot. Shoulder wound. He rolled behind cover. Hit, shoulder. He's wounded but mobile. Kane keyed his radio. Wolfpack 2, this is 1. Contact. Sniper. We're pinned down. Grid coordinates. He rattled off numbers. Bull's voice came back. Copy. How many? At least 1. Professional. Good position. Can you flank? Kane looked at Morgan. She shook her head. He has the high ground. We move. He shoots. Negative on flank. We need to push through. Believe we're close to the objective. Morgan scanned with her scope, looking for the wounded sniper, for backup, for any threat. Then she saw it. 400 meters ahead, hidden behind a boulder field. A cave entrance, and next to it, barely visible, a radiation warning symbol scratched into rock. Faded, small, but unmistakable. Commander, cave entrance, 400 meters south, marked with radiation warning. Kane looked through his binoculars. I see it. That's where the bomb is. How do you know? Because that sniper isn't protecting nothing. He's a guard, and guards protect assets. Kane's jaw tightened. Then we need to move, now, before reinforcements arrive. They moved. Combat glide, fast but controlled, using terrain, staying low. Morgan led, Kane followed 5 meters back. The sniper fired twice more. Both rounds closed but not lethal. He was shooting wounded, less accurate. 200 meters from the cave, 100. Morgan stopped, held up a fist. Kane froze. She'd seen movement inside the cave entrance. Multiple figures, armed. Kane saw it too, whispered into radio. Wolfpack 2, we have the objective. Cave entrance, multiple hostiles, need backup. Bull, inbound, ETA 20 minutes. 20 minutes was a lifetime in combat. Morgan adjusted her scope, counted targets. 6 men, all armed, AK pattern rifles. But one figure was different. Taller, heavier build, military bearing. She zoomed in on his face. White male, 40 to 45 years old, Square jaw, short hair, tactical vest marked with Morgan's blood went cold. American flag patch. Commander, she whispered. That's an American. Kane looked through his binoculars, swore. What the hell is an American doing guarding Constantine's bomb? Morgan centered her crosshairs on the American's face. Clear shot. 700 meters. She could take it. But something stopped her. Something about his bearing, his gear, the way he moved. Commander, that's not just an American, that's American military. Look at his stance, his weapons handling. That's a trained operator. Kane stared through the binoculars, long seconds. Then his radio crackled. Different voice. Bull. Wolfpack 1, Eastern convoy was decoys. Repeat. Empty trucks. Bomb is not there. Kane keyed back. Copy. Bomb is south. We've got the location, but we have a problem. What kind of problem? Kane looked at Morgan. At the cave. At the American guarding it. The kind where one of our own is protecting a dirty bomb meant to kill 5,000 Americans. Silence on the radio. Then Bull's voice, hard as iron. Then we bring him in, or we put him down. Either way, we complete the mission. Morgan kept her crosshairs on the American's face. Her finger rested on the trigger. Not pulling, not yet, just resting. In the cave entrance, the American turned, looked directly at their position. 800 meters away, hidden behind rocks and camouflage, there was no way he could see them. But somehow he knew they were there. He raised a radio to his mouth, spoke. Morgan couldn't hear the words, but she could read his lips. 3 words. They found us. And somewhere deeper in the cave, someone answered. Morgan heard it through the thin mountain air. Heard it and felt ice in her spine. Because the voice that answered was speaking Russian. And it said, kill them all. The Russian words hung in the mountain air like a death sentence. Kill them all. 3 words in a language Morgan Barrett had learned during her first deployment to Syria. 3 words that meant the rules just changed. Kane was already moving, rolling left behind a boulder. Morgan went right, instinct, training, the absolute certainty that staying still meant dying. The first burst of automatic fire came from the cave entrance, a K-47 pattern, 30 rounds in 3 seconds. Rock chips exploded where they'd been standing. The American with the flag patch was shooting. Not at them specifically, suppressive fire, keeping them pinned while others maneuvered. Morgan settled behind cover, scanned through her scope. The American had moved deeper into the cave mouth. Smart, using darkness and stone for protection. But he'd left his right shoulder exposed, 6 inches, maybe 7. She didn't take the shot, not yet. Something about this felt wrong. An American operator guarding a Russian arms dealer's dirty bomb. The math didn't add up. Traitors existed. She knew that. But traitors usually had reasons beyond money. Ideology, blackmail, revenge. She needed to know which. Kane's voice came through her earpiece, calm despite the bullets. Frost, can you get an angle on the cave? Negative, too much cover. We push forward, we're exposed. Then we wait for backup. Bull's 20 minutes out. 20 minutes was forever. Morgan scanned the terrain, rocky slope leading to the cave. No cover. 70 meters of open ground where bullets would find them easily. Tactical suicide. Unless she studied the boulder field to the left of the cave entrance. Large rocks, glacial deposits. They formed a rough line that curved around toward the cave's western side. Not perfect cover, but better than nothing. Commander, boulder field, left flank. I can work through it. Get an angle. Kane looked, calculated. That's a 150-meter crawl through a shooting gallery. Better than sitting here until they bring reinforcements. Kane's jaw worked. Decision time, leader's burden. Send someone into danger or wait and hope. Do it. I'll provide covering fire. Move on my signal. Morgan slung her rifle across her back, drew her sidearm. Beretta M9, 15 rounds, close quarters weapon. She'd need it if she got inside that cave. Kane counted down on his fingers. 3, 2, 1. He opened fire. Controlled bursts, aiming at the cave entrance. Not trying to hit anyone, just making them keep their heads down. Morgan moved. Low crawl, elbows and knees. 60 pounds of gear dragging across rock. Fast as she could while staying below the sight lines. 30 meters, 50, 70. Bullets snapped overhead. Someone had spotted her. She pressed flat, waited. The firing shifted. They were guessing her position, close but not exact. She crawled again, reached the boulder field, slipped between 2 house-sized rocks. Relative safety. She could breathe. Her radio crackled. Kane's voice. Frost, you good? Good. Moving to flank position. She worked through the boulders, slow, methodical, every movement calculated. The cave entrance was 60 meters to her right now. Closer, she could hear voices, Russian, English, arguing. The English voice was American, deep, controlled. We need to move the package, now, before more arrive. Russian voice, older, accented. Package stays until transport arrives. Those were the orders. Orders change when there's a Marine sniper half a click away who doesn't miss. Morgan froze. He knew about her. Specifically, not just that there was a sniper, that it was her. The Russian laughed. Bitter sound. Then kill her. You're supposed to be professional, yes? I'm trying. She's not making it easy. Morgan edged closer, found a gap between rocks. Sightline into the cave. 40 meters. She could see figures moving in the darkness. Count them. 6, no, 7, the American. 3 guards with AKs. 2 men in civilian clothes working on something. Technicians, maybe. And 1 older man. Gray beard, expensive jacket despite the cold. Constantine. Had to be. She zoomed her scope. The older man's face came into focus. Hard features. Eyes that had seen violence and become comfortable with it. He was talking on a satellite phone. Morgan couldn't hear the words, but she could read lips. Packages secure. Timeline unchanged. Delivery in 36 hours. 36 hours. Morgan's blood went cold. That was the window. After that, 5,000 Americans at Bagram would be breathing radioactive dust. She keyed her radio, whispered, "Commander, I have eyes on Constantine. Confirmed 7 hostiles in cave. 1 American, 6 Russian or local. 2 appear to be technicians. Packages mentioned. Timeline is 36 hours. Kane's response was immediate. Can you take the shot on Constantine? Morgan centered her crosshairs on the old man's head. Perfect angle, 40 meters, no wind inside the cave. Easy shot. The easiest of her career. Her finger touched the trigger. Then one of the technicians moved, stepped directly in front of Constantine, blocking the shot, not deliberately, just bad timing. Negative, blocked. Stand by, bull is 15 minutes out. We wait for backup, then we go in hard. 15 minutes. Morgan maintained her position. Watched. The technicians were working on something in the cave's deeper section. She couldn't see what. Metal container, maybe. They had tools, Geiger counter, radiation suits hanging on hooks. So the bomb was real, here, close enough to touch. The American operator walked to the cave entrance, stood there, scanning the terrain. Professional, careful. Morgan got a better look at his face. Mid-40s, scarring on his left cheek, old burn maybe. His gear was top tier, Cry precision plate carrier, Ops Corps helmet, Daniel defense rifle. Not just American military. Tier 1, SEALs or Delta or something equivalent. She could tell by the way he moved. Economy of motion. Nothing wasted, which made his presence here even more wrong. She watched him pull out a phone, text someone. The message was brief. He hit send, waited. A response came back. He read it. His expression didn't change, but something in his posture shifted. Tension, resignation maybe. He walked back into the cave, spoke to Constantine in English. They're not coming. Constantine looked up from his phone. Who is not coming? The support team, the people who were supposed to help us extract the package. They just messaged. Mission's off. We're on our own. Constantine's face went dark. What do you mean mission is off? The American's voice was flat, dead. I mean someone just burned us. Whoever hired me to protect this operation just pulled the plug. No extraction, no support, no payment. Morgan's mind raced. Hired. Someone hired an American operator to guard Constantine, which meant this wasn't ideology. This was a contract. Black ops. Deniable. Constantine stood, angry now. You were paid half up front, $2 million. And I earned it, but the other half isn't coming, which means the people who hired me decided I'm expendable, along with you. Then we take package ourselves, deliver it, get the rest of the money. The American shook his head. You don't get it. If they burn me, they burn you too. There is no delivery. There is no money. We're loose ends, and someone is about to tie us off. Constantine's hand moved toward a pistol on his belt. The American's rifle came up. Faster. Professional. Don't. Constantine's hand stopped. So what do? We run, right now. Leave the package, get out of Pakistan before whoever's cleaning house finds us. And the Marines outside? The American glanced toward the cave entrance, toward Morgan's position, though he couldn't possibly see her. They're the least of our problems. Morgan processed this. Burned, expendable. Someone higher up the chain had just cut these men loose, which meant the operation was compromised at a level she couldn't see. Command level, maybe higher. She keyed her radio. Commander, we have a situation. The American and Constantine are discussing extraction. They've been burned by whoever hired them. Mission appears compromised at a higher level. Silence, then Kane's voice hard. Explain. Morgan relayed what she'd heard. The contract, the burn, the missing support team. Kane swore. That doesn't make sense. Why burn an operation to deliver a dirty bomb? Unless the bomb was never supposed to be delivered. Unless someone wanted it found, wanted us here. The implications hung heavy. A setup. But for what purpose? Kane's voice came back. Different tone. Careful. Frost, I need you to listen very carefully. I just got a message from TOC. They want to know our exact position. They're asking for grid coordinates. That's unusual. TOC already has our GPS trackers. They don't need to ask. Morgan felt ice in her spine. Someone's checking if the trackers are accurate. That's what I'm thinking, which means someone wants to know exactly where we are. For what purpose, I don't know, but I don't like it. Did you respond? Not yet. I wanted to clear it with you first. Don't. Not until we understand what's happening. Kane was quiet then. Agreed, we're going dark. Radio silence except for team comms. If command wants to find us, they can wait. Morgan watched the cave. The American and Constantine were arguing now. Heated. The American wanted to leave. Constantine wanted to stay. Pride, greed, stupidity. Probably all three. Then something changed. One of the technicians called out. Excited. In Russian. I have it working. Timer is set. 36 hours. Constantine smiled. Ugly expression. He turned to the American. You want to run? Run. I complete the mission. I get paid. Alone. The American studied him. Long moment, then lowered his rifle. You're making a mistake. Perhaps, but it is my mistake to make. The American walked toward the cave entrance. Stopped. Looked back. When this goes bad, and it will, don't say I didn't warn you. Then he was gone. Moving fast. Disappearing into the rocks outside. Heading away from Morgan's position. Away from Kane. Just gone. Morgan tracked him with her scope until he vanished behind terrain. Her finger had been on the trigger the whole time. She could have shot him, should have maybe, enemy combatant, armed, hostile, but something stopped her. Something about the way he moved, the resignation in his voice. He wasn't evil, just tired. A soldier who'd taken one contract too many and found himself on the wrong side of history. She'd seen that look before, in mirrors, after Mosul. Constantine's voice pulled her back. He was addressing the remaining men. In English now, probably for her benefit, though he didn't know she was listening. The American is weak. We are strong. We finished the job. 36 hours and Bagram burns. The payment will be enough for all of us to retire. Rich men, powerful men. The guards nodded. True believers or just mercenaries? Hard to tell. One of the technicians spoke up, nervous. But if the support team isn't coming, how do we extract after delivery? Constantine pulled out a phone. I have other friends, Russian friends. They will help, for a price, but they will help. Morgan had heard enough. She keyed her radio. Commander, American operator has left the AO, heading west. Constantine remains with 6 hostiles. Bomb is confirmed active. Timer set for 36 hours. Kane, acknowledge. Bull is 5 minutes out. We move when he arrives. You maintain overwatch. When we breach, you take Constantine, clean headshot. Understood? Understood. Morgan settled in. 5 minutes. She could be patient for 5 more minutes. Her crosshairs found Constantine's head. Stayed there. She memorized his movements, the way he stood, where he liked to position himself. When the time came, she'd have 2 seconds, maybe 3. 1 shot. She wouldn't need more than 1. The 5 minutes felt like 5 hours. But then Bull's voice came through the radio. Calm, professional. Wolfpack 1, Bull is in position, North Ridge. I have eyes on cave entrance. Kane, copy. Santos, Prophet, Harrison, report. Each man called in, all in position. Surrounding the cave, overlapping fields of fire. Classic small unit tactics. Overwhelming force applied with precision. Kane gave the order. Frost takes Constantine. Everyone else suppresses the guards. On my mark. 3, 2, 1, execute. Morgan's world narrowed to the scope, to the crosshairs, to the old man's head 70 meters away. She exhaled. Held, found the space between heartbeats. Fired. The suppressed rifle coughed. Constantine's head snapped back. He dropped. Clean kill. Professional. Exactly as ordered. Chaos erupted. Bull's machine gun opened up. 3-round bursts. Controlled. Deadly. 2 guards went down. Santos and Prophet firing from the eastern approach. Another guard fell. The remaining 3 scattered. Returning fire. AK rounds sparking off rocks. 1 guard made it to cover. Started laying suppressive fire toward Bull's position. Morgan shifted aim. Found him. Fired. He dropped. The last 2 guards threw down their weapons. Hands up. Spanish. No despairin'. No despairin'. Don't shoot. Kane moved in. Fast. Professional. Cable ties on wrists. Pat down for weapons. The 2 technicians were cowering in the cave's back section. Kane secured them too. Clear, he called out. Morgan stood. Moved down from her position. Reached the cave entrance. Kane was standing over Constantine's body, checking for vitals. Confirmed KYA, good shot. Morgan looked at the dead man. Felt nothing. He'd chosen this. Chose to sell weapons that killed innocents. Chose money over humanity. His death was a math equation. Balanced, correct. Bull arrived. Huge frame filling the cave entrance. He looked at the bodies, at the secured prisoners, nodded approval. Clean work. Santos and Prophet came next. Harrison last. The EOD tech immediately moved to the back of the cave where the technicians had been working. Found it, he called out. Metal container, radiation warning labels. I'm reading elevated levels on my dosimeter. Everyone moved back, instinctive. Radiation was invisible death, slow, painful, inevitable if you got too much. Harrison pulled out specialized equipment, worked carefully. After 2 minutes, he looked up. It's a dirty bomb, cesium-137, about 8 kilograms, wrapped around 20 pounds of C4. Timer is active. Current reading shows 35 hours, 42 minutes. Kane stepped forward. Can you disable it? Harrison studied the device. Not here, not with this equipment. I'd need a full EOD suite, lab conditions. This thing is sophisticated. Tamper switches, redundant triggers. Whoever built it knew what they were doing. So what are our options? Transport it to Bagram. Let the experts handle it, or we can try to disable the timer, but if we fail, it detonates early, and we're all dead plus everyone within half a click. Kane didn't hesitate. We transport it, prep it for movement. Harrison nodded, started working. Morgan watched from the entrance. Something still felt wrong. The pieces didn't fit. An American operator hired to guard a Russian arms dealer's bomb, then burned by mysterious employers. Command asking for position updates they shouldn't need. She pulled Kane aside. Commander, permission to speak freely. Granted. This feels like a trap. The bomb is real. Constantine was real. But something about this operation doesn't scan. Why hire an American to guard it? Why burn him halfway through? Why is TOC asking for our position? Kane's expression was grim. I've been thinking the same thing. This whole op feels wrong. What if someone wanted us to find this bomb? Wanted us here specifically? To what purpose? Morgan thought about it, worked through the logic. What if the bomb was never meant for Bagram? What if it was meant to kill us? The team, specifically. Kane's eyes narrowed. That's paranoid thinking. Is it? Think about it. We get sent on a rush mission. Minimal planning, minimal support. We're told there's a dirty bomb threatening the base. We insert, find the bomb exactly where Intel said it would be, kill the bad guys, secure the package, textbook operation. So it's too clean, too perfect. Real operations are messy. Intel is wrong, targets move, plans change. This whole thing has been paint by numbers, almost like someone knew exactly what we'd do, exactly where we'd be. Kane was quiet, processing. Then, if you're right, if this is a setup, then who's setting us up? And why? I don't know, but I think we need to find out before we radio TOC and tell them we have the bomb. Bull walked over. What are you two whispering about? Kane explained Morgan's theory. Bull listened, face darkening. That's some conspiracy theory shit right there, but I'll be damned if it doesn't make a sick kind of sense. Santos joined them. Make what makes sense. They brought him up to speed. Then Prophet. Then Harrison. The whole team standing in a cave in Pakistan, discussing whether their own command was trying to kill them. Prophet spoke first, quiet voice. I have kids, 3 of them. I need to know if someone's trying to put me in a hole in the ground. Harrison nodded. Agreed. How do we verify? Morgan thought about it. We need information about who tasked this mission, who provided the intel, who knew we'd be here. Kane pulled out his encrypted tablet, started typing. I can access mission files remotely, see who signed off on the orders. He worked for 2 minutes, face getting darker with each line he read. Finally, he looked up. Mission was authorized by JSOC. That's normal. But the intelligence package came from a single source, CIA Special Operations, specifically from the Office of Deputy Director James Shepard. Morgan's blood turned to ice. Say that name again. James Shepard, Deputy Director, why? And then she was back in Mosul. Hot sun, dead Marines, an investigating officer with cold eyes telling her she'd hesitated, telling her that hesitation was weakness. Colonel James Shepard. She'd challenged his report, said the rules of engagement had tied her hands. He'd gotten angry, said she was making excuses, said if she couldn't handle the bomb, she should turn in her rifle. She'd held her ground. The report was filed as inconclusive, no fault assigned, but Shepard had looked at her with pure hatred and said 5 words. I don't forget, Sergeant Barrett. That was 5 years ago. He'd been a colonel then. Now he was Deputy Director of CIA Special Operations. Power, resources, the ability to task missions and provide intelligence and make people disappear. Morgan looked at Kane. Shepard and I have history, bad history. Mosul, 2019. He investigated an incident where I didn't take a shot. 3 Marines died. He blamed me. I challenged his findings. He didn't like that. Kane's expression went carefully neutral. How much didn't he like it? Enough to tell me he'd remember. Enough to hold a grudge for 5 years. Enough to send you into Pakistan on a suicide mission? Morgan thought about it. About a man with power and hatred. About revenge dressed up as duty. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Bull swore. Long creative stream. Prophet just closed his eyes. Harrison sat down on a rock. Santos was the first to speak. So what do we do? We're in Pakistan, unauthorized, with a dirty bomb, and maybe our own government is trying to kill us. Outstanding. Kane was thinking. Leader mode. Working through options. We need proof. Hard evidence that Shepard is behind this. Without it, we're just paranoid operators making accusations against a deputy director. Morgan nodded. How do we get proof? We make them show their hand. We report in, say we have the bomb, say we're bringing it to Bagram, see how they react. And if they react by sending a missile, Kane's smile was cold. Then we have our proof, and we make sure we're not where they think we are. He pulled out his radio, switched to command frequency. TOC, this is Wolfpack 1, mission successful, package secured, Constantine KIA, requesting exfil instructions. Static. Then a voice Morgan didn't recognize. Wolfpack 1, confirm you have the package. Confirmed. Dirty bomb, cesium-137, timer active, 35 hours remaining. Outstanding work. Stand by for exfil coordinates. Silence, 30 seconds, a minute. Then the voice came back. Different tone, harder. Wolfpack 1, exfil is delayed. Remain in position. Secure the package. Air support is inbound to your location to provide cover. Kane and Morgan locked eyes. Air support for an exfil operation. That made no sense. Exfil was helos, fast and quiet. Air support was jets, loud, visible. Air support was what you sent when you wanted to destroy something. Kane keyed the radio, voice calm. TOC, what kind of air support? F-16 SDTA 12 minutes. They'll provide defensive screen while you wait for helo extraction. Understood. Wolfpack 1 standing by. He released the transmit button, looked at his team. We have 12 minutes to not be here when those F-16 arrive. Move, now. They moved. Harrison grabbed the bomb in its container. Heavy, 50 pounds at least. Bull took it from him, stronger. Bull could carry it faster. They exited the cave at a run. No stealth now, just speed. Getting distance between them and the grid coordinates TOC had on file. Morgan ran point, scanning for threats, for ambush, for anything that would slow them down. Behind her, Prophet was on the radio, different frequency, secure channel to a contact he trusted. This is Prophet, I need a favor. Black one, no questions. A voice responded, go ahead. I need to know if there are F-16s inbound to these coordinates. He rattled off their position. Silence, then checking, stand by. They ran. Hard terrain, loose rocks, Morgan's lungs burned, gear slapping against her back, rifle in her hands, ready. Prophet's contact came back. Confirmed, 2 F-16, armed with JD. AIM as mission profile list, target as hostile compound. No friendly forces noted in the target area. Prophet's voice went dead. They're not here to protect us. They're here to kill us. Kane didn't slow down, just kept running. How long? 10 minutes. We need 2 clicks, minimum. Keep moving. They ran. Morgan checked her watch. 8 minutes. 7, 6. They cleared a ridgeline, dropped into a valley. Some cover here. Rock formations. Trees. Sparse, but better than nothing. Kane called a halt. This is it. Best we're going to get. Spread out, find cover. When those JDAMs hit the cave, pray we're far enough away that the blast doesn't reach us. Morgan found a depression behind rocks. Settled in. Watched the sky. Clear. Blue. Beautiful day to die. 5 minutes. 4, 3. She could hear them now. Jet engines, high altitude. 2 F-16s circling above the cave coordinates 2 clicks away. 2 minutes. The radio crackled. TOC again. Wolfpack 1, confirm you are still at grid coordinates provided earlier. Kane didn't respond. Just watched the sky. 1 minute. Morgan saw the bombs release. 2 dark shapes falling. Guidance fins adjusting. Seeking their target with mechanical precision. They hit! The explosion was massive. Orange fireball. Shockwave visible in the air. The sound arrived 3 seconds later. Thunder. Earthquake. The ground shook. Secondary explosions. The C4 and the dirty bomb cooking off. Radioactive material scattered. The cave collapsed. Everything within 200 meters turned to rubble. If they'd stayed, they'd be dead. Vaporized. Erased. Prophet's voice was shaking. They tried to kill us. Our own command tried to kill us. Harrison. Not command, Shepard. One man with enough power to task a mission and enough hate to turn it into an assassination. Morgan watched the smoke rise. Black column against blue sky. Somewhere in that smoke was cesium-137. Dispersed. Drifting. Anyone downwind for the next few hours would be breathing poison. She keyed her radio. Different frequency. Emergency channel. Direct to CENTCOM, bypassing TOC. This is Sergeant Morgan Barrett. USMC Scout Sniper, serial number 2847394. I am declaring a broken arrow situation. Repeat. Broken arrow, radioactive material has been dispersed by U.S. airstrike at the following coordinates. She read off the cave location. Deputy Director James Shepard of Special Operations tasked a mission to secure this material. When we succeeded, he ordered an airstrike on our position. 6 U.S. military personnel barely escaped. Shepard is attempting to kill American service members. He is the threat. Repeat. Shepard is the threat. We are going dark until we can reach someone we trust. Bear it out. She released the transmit button, looked at Kane. Now they know. Kane nodded. Grim. Now we're fugitives. Shepard will spin this. Say we went rogue, disobeyed orders. Probably say we're working with Constantine. So what do? We survive. We get evidence. We expose him in that order. Bull stood. How do we get evidence when we're in Pakistan with no support and half the U.S. military probably hunting us? Morgan thought about it. About the American operator who'd walked away. Who'd been burned just like them. Who might have information about who hired him. We find the American. The one who was guarding the cave. He was hired by someone. Someone connected to Shepard. We find him. We find the connection. Kane considered it. He's got a head start. Could be anywhere. He went west. On foot, carrying limited supplies. He'll need to resupply. Water, food. There's only one place within 50 clicks where he can do that. A village called Tora Kel, small, off the grid, but it has a market. How do you know this? I studied the maps during briefing. Always know your terrain, always know your options. Kane looked at his team. Tired, dirty, betrayed by their own command, but still standing, still ready. All in favor of becoming international fugitives on a revenge mission against a CIA deputy director? Every hand went up. Kane smiled. Wolfish, dangerous. Then let's go hunting. They moved out. 6 operators, no support, no backup. Just skills and anger and the absolute certainty that somewhere in Pakistan, James Shepard's hired gun had information that could bring down a traitor. Morgan took point again. Her rifle felt good in her hands. Solid, real. The one thing she could trust in a world that just proved trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. Behind her, Kane was already planning. 3 days to Tora Kel, maybe 4. Long enough for Shepard to realize they weren't dead. long enough for him to send hunters. But that was fine. Morgan had been hunted before, in Fallujah, in Mosul, in a dozen other places where men with guns wanted her dead. They'd all failed. Shepard would too. She checked her rifle. 40 rounds in the magazine. 200 more in her pack. Enough to send a message. She was done being prey. Time to be the wolf. 3 days in the mountains changes a person. Strips away the unnecessary. Leaves only what matters. Morgan Barrett learned this on her first deployment to Afghanistan in 2017. Learned it again in Iraq. And now, hiking through Pakistan as a fugitive from her own command, she was learning it a third time. What mattered was simple. Stay alive, find the truth, make it home. The team moved in single file through terrain that wanted them dead. Loose scree that could slide without warning. Cliff faces where one wrong step meant a 100-meter fall. Cold that crept through gear designed for desert heat, not mountain winter. They'd been walking for 60 hours. Minimal rest, no fire, cold rations, water from streams that might or might not give them parasites they'd deal with later. If there was a later. Torrikel was 8 clicks ahead. Morgan could see smoke from cooking fires rising in the valley below. Small village, maybe 300 people. Off the grid. The kind of place where strangers were noticed, but not necessarily reported. Not if the strangers had money. Kane called a halt. Everyone dropped, grateful for the break. Bull pulled out a protein bar, chewed mechanically. Santos checked everyone's feet. Blisters, calluses, nothing mission critical yet. Prophet had the satellite phone, encrypted, bouncing signal through 3 countries. He'd been monitoring command channels, listening to what people said when they thought no one was paying attention. Shepard's spinning it hard, Prophet said. Quiet voice. Tired. Official story is, we went rogue, killed Constantine without authorization, stole classified material. He's calling us traitors. Harrison spat. Of course he is. Can't admit he tried to kill his own people. Easier to make us the villains. Has anyone pushed back? Kane asked. Some. Colonel Hayes at JSOC is asking questions. But Shepard has deputy director credentials. He can classify anything he wants. Bury evidence. Make paperwork disappear. Morgan scanned the valley below. Torrikel looked peaceful, deceptive. What about the broken arrow call I made? Acknowledged but under investigation. Shepard's people are saying you faked it, trying to cover your tracks after you caused the radioactive dispersal yourself. Bull laughed. Bitter sound. That's some grade A bullshit right there. Welcome to politics, Kane said. Truth doesn't matter if the lie gets there first. Morgan thought about James Shepard. 5 years ago in Mosul, he'd been a colonel investigating a failed operation. Now he was deputy director with the power to reshape reality. The power to kill 6 operators and call it justice. She wondered what had happened in those 5 years. What turned a by-the-book officer into someone who'd commit murder to settle a grudge? Then she decided it didn't matter. Understanding evil doesn't make it less evil. It just makes you tired. We stick to the plan, she said. Find the American. Get evidence. Expose Shepard. Simple. Santos looked at her. Nothing about this is simple. Doesn't mean we don't do it. They moved again. Down into the valley. Slower now. More careful. They were entering civilization. Sort of. People meant witnesses. Witnesses meant complications. Torrikel appeared gradually. Mud brick buildings, narrow streets, market stalls selling vegetables and meat and cheap electronics. Children playing, women carrying water, men drinking tea and watching strangers with the careful attention of people who'd survived by being careful. The team had changed into civilian clothes. Cargo pants, local jackets, enough to not immediately scream military, but anyone with experience would see through it. The way they moved, the way their eyes never stopped scanning, the bulges under their jackets that were definitely weapons. Morgan went in first. Woman alone was less threatening than 6 hard men. She spoke passable Pashto, enough to buy supplies and ask questions without starting a firefight. The market was busy, afternoon trading. She moved through it slowly, looking, listening, staying invisible. Then she saw him, corner table at a chai house. American, mid-40s, wearing local clothes but sitting wrong, too upright, too alert, a soldier trying to blend and not quite managing it. The same man from the cave, the one with the flag patch who'd walked away rather than die for Constantine's greed. Morgan bought tea, sat at a nearby table, didn't look at him directly, just sipped her drink and waited. He knew she was there. She could tell. The slight tension in his shoulders, the way his hand drifted toward his waistband where a pistol probably lived. She spoke in English. Quiet. I'm not here to kill you. He didn't turn. That's disappointing. Would have been faster than drinking this terrible tea. We need to talk. I don't talk to Marines who shoot at me. I shot at Constantine's men. You left before the shooting started. He considered that. Fair point. What do you want? Information. About who hired you, about why. And if I don't feel like sharing, then you keep drinking bad tea and I keep sitting here, and eventually someone notices two Americans in Torquay and reports it to someone who reports it to someone who sends people with guns. Your choice. He was quiet for 30 seconds. Then he stood, dropped money on the table. Follow me. Stay 10 meters back. If this is an ambush, I'll kill you before your friends kill me. Fair enough. He led her through the market, down a side street, into a building that might have been a warehouse once. Empty now, just concrete floors and broken windows and the smell of dust. Kane and the team were already inside, waiting. The American saw them and his hand moved toward his pistol. Morgan stepped between them. Easy. We talk first. Shoot later if we have to. The American looked at each of them, measuring, calculating odds. Finally, his hand moved away from his weapon. Marcus Webb, he said, former Delta, currently unemployed and regretting every decision that led me to this shithole. Kane stepped forward. Commander Daniel Kane, SEAL Team 3. These are my men, and apparently we're all on the same shit list. Webb nodded. I heard about the airstrike. Shepard really doesn't like loose ends. You know Shepard? Never met him, but I know his work. I was hired through a cutout. Private military contractor. Job was simple. Guard an asset in Pakistan, make sure it stayed secure until transport arrived. Payment was $4 million, $2 million up front, $2 million on completion. Morgan spoke. Who was the cutout? Company called Sentinel Solutions. Private security firm based in Virginia. They handle black contracts for CIA and DIA, deniable work. The kind that doesn't appear on budget reports. And you didn't ask questions? Webb's smile was cold. In my line of work, questions reduce life expectancy. Someone offers $4 million to guard a package in Pakistan, you take the money and do the job. Even if the package is a dirty bomb meant to kill Americans? I didn't know that when I signed the contract. By the time I figured it out, I was in too deep. So I made a choice. Stay alive, get paid, let someone else worry about morality. Bull stepped forward. Massive, threatening. That's some coward shit right there. Webb met his eyes. Maybe, but I'm alive and your friend Constantine isn't. Who made the better choice? Constantine was the enemy. So am I, or was I until your deputy director decided to burn me along with you. Kane raised a hand. Peacekeeping. We're not here to judge you. We're here for information. You said Sentinel Solutions hired you. Do you have proof? How? Webb pulled out a phone. Encrypted model. He scrolled through files. Contract, payment confirmations, communication logs. Everything I need to prove I was hired and later abandoned. Can those files connect Shepard? Not directly. Sentinel uses multiple layers of cutouts. But I have something better. He opened another file, audio recording. This is from 3 days ago, right before you showed up at the cave. Constantine was arguing with his handler. I recorded it. He pressed play. A voice came through the phone speaker. American accent, male, authoritative. The timeline has moved up. Transport will not arrive. You're being terminated, along with the security asset. Constantine's voice, angry, scared. This was not the arrangement. You promised payment, delivery. Arrangements change. You've become a liability. The Marines will arrive within hours. They'll kill you, secure the bomb, and then we'll kill them. Clean, efficient, no witnesses. What about Webb, the American you hired? Expendable, just like you. The bomb was always meant to be found. This entire operation was designed to eliminate a particular Marine sniper who embarrassed someone important 5 years ago. You were the bait. Webb was insurance. The Marines were the target. And now it's almost over. The recording ended. Morgan felt ice in her veins. The entire operation, the bomb, the intel, the mission, all of it designed to kill her specifically. Shepard had orchestrated everything, spent millions, risked international incidents, just to settle a grudge. Kane's voice was tight. That voice, can you identify it? Webb shook his head. It was scrambled, voice modulation, but the accent and speech pattern matched CIA senior leadership. I've worked with enough of them to recognize the type. Not good enough for evidence. No, but I have something else. Webb pulled out a thumb drive. Bank records. Wire transfers from a shell company in the Caymans to Sentinel Solutions. $50 million, dated 2 weeks before this operation started. Harrison whistled. $50 million to kill 6 people. Someone really wanted us dead. Can you trace the shell company? With the right resources, yes. But I'm just a contractor. I don't have access to that level of financial investigation. Morgan thought about it, worked through the logic. We need someone inside the system. Someone Shepard hasn't compromised. Someone with the authority to investigate financial crimes. Kane nodded. Colonel Hayes at JSOC, he's been asking questions. If we can get this evidence to him, he can run it up the chain. How? Santos asked. We're fugitives. We show up at Bagram. Shepard's people will grab us before we get through the gate. Prophet spoke up. Quiet, thoughtful. We don't go to Bagram. We go digital. I can set up a secure dead drop, upload the files, send Hayes the access codes. He gets the evidence without us exposing ourselves. And if Shepard intercepts it, he won't. I'll route it through civilian infrastructure. Coffee shop Wi-Fi in Kabul, library computers in Islamabad, multiple hops, untraceable. Kane looked at Webb. You willing to give us that thumb drive? Webb studied them. Long moment. Then, on one condition, when this is over, you make sure my contract with Sentinel is paid in full. $4 million. $2 million up front I already got. $2 million completion bonus they owe me. I want it. You're negotiating after helping plan our assassination? I'm a contractor. Everything's negotiable. Besides, I didn't pull any triggers. I walked away. That counts for something. Morgan stepped forward, face to face with Webb. You want money for doing the bare minimum of not being actively evil. That's your position. That's my position. She studied him. Saw a man who'd made choices. Bad ones. Choices that kept him alive but cost him whatever honor he'd started with. She knew that look. Seen it in mirrors after Mosul. Deal, she said. You give us the evidence. We make sure you get your $2 million completion payment. But after that, you disappear, far away, different continent, different life. Webb almost smiled. I was planning on that anyway. He handed over the thumb drive and the phone with the recording. Kane took them, secured them in a waterproof case. How long to set up the upload? Kane asked Prophet. 6 hours. I need to find internet access, set up the routing, test the security. Do it. We'll provide cover. Move in 2 hours. They spent those 2 hours planning. Contingencies, escape routes. What to do if Shepard's people showed up before they could transmit the evidence. Webb stayed with them. Not part of the team, but not an enemy either. Somewhere in between. Morgan watched him, noticed the way he checked his weapon, old habits, professional maintenance. He'd been good once, probably still was. Just pointed his skills in the wrong direction. Question, Webb said, looking at Morgan. Why you specifically? What did you do that made Shepard hate you enough to orchestrate all this? Morgan thought about Mosul. About 3 dead Marines in an investigation that found no fault but placed blame anyway. I challenged him, told him his investigation was wrong. He didn't like being questioned by a sergeant. That's it? He tried to kill you over wounded pride? Pride gets more people killed than bullets. You should know that. Webb nodded. Fair point. 2 hours later, they moved. Prophet took the thumb drive and phone, headed into Torakel proper. Found an internet cafe. Old computers. Slow connection, but functional. He worked while the team provided security. Bull outside watching the street. Santos and Harrison in the cafe pretending to browse news sites. Kane and Morgan across the street in a tea house with sight lines to the entrance. 40 minutes. Prophet's fingers flying across the keyboard, setting up proxies, routing through servers in 3 continents, creating a digital trail that would take experts weeks to unravel. Finally, he looked up. Gave a thumbs up. Files uploaded. Access codes sent to Colonel Hayes' personal email, encrypted. He'll have them in 10 minutes. Kane keyed his radio. Package delivered. Let's move. They filtered out. Separately. Meeting point 2 clicks outside the village. Standard escape and evade protocol. Morgan was halfway there when her radio crackled. Hayes' voice. Secure channel. Frost, this is Hayes. I got your package. What the hell is going on? Relief flooded through her. Someone in command who would listen. Sir, Deputy Director Shepard orchestrated a mission designed to kill my team. The evidence is in those files, financial records, audio recording, bank transfers, everything you need to prove he's behind it. Silence, then, Jesus Christ! Frost, this is heavy. If you're right, this goes beyond one rogue officer. This is conspiracy, murder, treason. I know, sir. That's why we need your help. We're fugitives. We can't come in without protection. Shepard has resources. He'll kill us before we can testify. Where are you now? Morgan hesitated. Trust was earned, but Hayes had always been straight, always played by the rules. Pakistan. Moving toward the border. We need extraction. Safe extraction. Not through Bagram. Shepard has people there. Understood. Give me 24 hours. I'll arrange something. In the meantime, stay dark. Stay alive. Don't trust anyone except your team. Copy that, sir. And Frost? When this is over, there's going to be a reckoning. Shepard won't go down quiet. He'll fight. Use every resource he has. It's going to get worse before it gets better. I understand. Good. Hayes out. The radio went silent. Morgan reached the rally point. Rest of the team was there. Webb, too. Everyone looked at her. Hayes got the files. He's working on extraction. 24 hours. Kane nodded. Then we survive for 24 hours. Find a hide site. Lay low. Eat. Rest. Prepare for whatever comes next. They found a cave 3 clicks north. Small. Defensible. Fresh water nearby. Good sight lines. Military minds thinking the same thoughts. They set up security or rotation. 2 on watch. 4 resting. 2-hour shifts. Morgan took first watch with Bull. Night fell. Stars came out. The kind of stars you only see far from cities. Clear, bright, infinite. Bull was quiet for a long time. Then, you think we'll make it? Really? Morgan scanned the valley below. Thermal scope showing nothing but animals. Yes. Why? Because we're good at what we do. And Shepard isn't good at this. He's good at politics, bureaucracy, pushing papers and making people disappear. But he's not a soldier. He doesn't understand that soldiers don't quit. Bull nodded slowly. I got 3 kids, wife, house in Virginia Beach. I was supposed to rotate home in 2 months. Now I'm sitting in a cave in Pakistan, waiting for my own government to either save me or kill me. We'll get you home. You sure? I'm sure I'll die trying. That seemed to satisfy him. They watched in silence. Night deepened, cold intensified. Morgan thought about home, California, the ocean, running at dawn. Simple things that seemed impossibly far away now. Around midnight, Kane relieved them. Morgan crawled into her sleeping bag, closed her eyes, didn't expect to sleep. She did anyway. Exhaustion, overwhelming caution. Deep, dreamless, black. She woke to gunfire. Instinct brought her rifle to hand before conscious thought. She rolled out of the sleeping bag, scanned for threats. Dawn was breaking. Gray light. Santos was at the cave entrance. Firing controlled burst downrange. Bull was with him. Suppressive fire, professional, precise. Kane grabbed Morgan. We've got company. 6 tangos, maybe more. They found us. How? Doesn't matter. They're here. We need to move. Morgan looked at their position. Cave had 1 exit, no back door. Tactically terrible. They were trapped. She moved to the entrance, scanned through her scope, saw them. Professional operators. Good gear. Moving with coordination that spoke of serious training. Not local fighters. These were contractors, Shepard's people. How'd they find us, Harrison asked, packing gear frantically. Prophet's face went pale. He pulled out his laptop, checked something, swore. The internet cafe, they tracked our upload, backtraced through the proxies. It would have taken hours, but they did it. Led them to Torakel. From there, probably paid locals to report strangers. Kane's expression was grim. So much for 24 hours. The attackers were setting up, finding positions, preparing for an assault. They had time, numbers, position, everything except desperation. Morgan studied the terrain. Steep slope behind the cave, almost vertical. Climbable, maybe, if they weren't being shot at. Big if. She pointed. We go up, climb, they won't expect it. Santos looked at the cliff. That's suicide. Staying here is guaranteed suicide. Climbing is possible suicide. I'll take possible. Kane made the decision. We climb. Bull, you and I provide covering fire. Everyone else start moving. Frost, you go last. You're the best shot. Keep them suppressed. No time to argue. Webb grabbed his pack, started climbing. Then Harrison, Prophet, Santos. Morgan and Bull and Kane stayed at the entrance, firing, making the attackers keep their heads down. The climbers were halfway up when one of the attackers got smart, flanked around the side, got an angle on the cliff face, opened fire. Bullets sparked off rock. Webb took one in the leg, kept climbing, gritting teeth, blood trailing behind him. Morgan shifted aim, found the flanker, fired, he dropped. But more were coming. They'd figured out the plan, were trying to cut off the escape route. Bull grunted, took a round to his plate carrier. Armor caught it, but the impact staggered him. I'm good, keep shooting. Morgan's magazine ran dry. She reloaded. Muscle memory. 3 seconds. Back in the fight. Santos reached the top of the cliff. Then Harrison. Prophet. Webb was struggling. Wounded leg making the climb brutal. Kane started up. Then Bull. Morgan was alone. She fired, moved, fired again. Keeping 6 shooters pinned down by herself. Impossible task. But she'd done impossible before. A grenade arced toward the cave entrance. Perfect throw. Morgan saw it coming, had 2 seconds. She grabbed it midair, threw it back, harder, better angle. It detonated among the attackers. Screams, chaos. She used the confusion. Started climbing. Rifle slung across her back. Hands finding holds. Feet pushing, 60 feet, straight up, rock that wanted to crumble. Bullets snapped around her. She didn't look down, just climbed. Halfway up, she felt the rock under her left hand give way. She swung, one-handed. 60 pounds of gear trying to pull her off the cliff. Her right arm screamed, shoulder joint straining. She found a foothold, pushed, caught another handhold, kept moving. Bull's voice from above. Almost there, 20 feet. Bullets hit the rock beside her head. Stone chips cutting her face. She climbed faster. Reckless now. Speed over safety. Hands grabbed her gear. Pulled. She was over the edge, flat on her back, breathing hard, alive. Move, Kane ordered. They'll find a way up. We need distance. They ran. Morgan's shoulder throbbing, Webb limping, blood trail behind him. But they ran anyway because stopping meant dying. 2 clicks. 3. They found thick forest, cover, concealment, stopped to catch breath. Santos checked Webb's leg. Through and through, missed the bone. You'll live. Webb's face was white. Pain, shock. Outstanding. Kane was on the radio. Secure channel. Hayes, this is Kane. We're under attack. Contractors. Shepard's people. We need extraction now. Not in 24 hours. Now. Hayes's response was immediate. Copy. I've got a Black Hawk inbound to your position. ETA 30 minutes. Get to open ground. I'll send you coordinates. Roger, what about Shepard? I briefed CENTCOM. General Morrison is handling it personally. Shepard's been detained for questioning. His security clearance is suspended. He's done. Morgan felt something release in her chest. Relief, vindication, justice. Copy that. We'll be at the LZ. They moved again. Following GPS coordinates Hayes provided. Open ground 2 clicks north. Old poppy field, flat, perfect for helo landing. 28 minutes later, they heard rotors. Black Hawk coming in low and fast. Door gunner scanning for threats. Pilot putting it down hard. They ran, all of them. Webb hobbling between Santos and Harrison. Into the helo, strapping in. Door gunner providing cover. The helo lifted. Nap of the Earth flight. Terrain following. Getting distance between them and Shepard's contractors. Morgan looked out the door. Saw Pakistan falling away. Mountains. Valleys. Land that had tried to kill her for 3 days and failed. She closed her eyes, let exhaustion take over. She'd earned it. 2 weeks later, she stood at attention in a conference room at CENTCOM headquarters. Fresh uniform. Pressed. Proper. The kind of military bearing that felt strange after living in the field. General Morrison sat across a polished wood table. 3 stars on his shoulder. Silver hair. Eyes that had seen 3 wars and come out harder for it. Beside him, Colonel Hayes, and a JAG officer Morgan didn't know. Morrison spoke first. Sergeant Barrett, Commander Kane, your testimony has been invaluable. Thanks to the evidence you provided, Deputy Director Shepard has been arrested. He's facing charges of conspiracy to commit murder, misuse of government resources, and treason. The investigation is ongoing, but it appears he acted alone. Personal vendetta disguised as national security. Kane asked the question Morgan was thinking. How did he think he'd get away with it? Arrogance, power. He'd been operating in the shadows for so long he forgot there were still people watching, people who care about the law. Morrison stood. The others stood too. Military courtesy. You 6 operators prevented a dirty bomb attack. Exposed a traitor in our own ranks. Survived against impossible odds. The United States Marine Corps and the Navy are proud to have you in their ranks. He opened a case. Inside 6 Silver Star medals. For extraordinary heroism in action against an armed enemy. For valor above and beyond. You've earned these. One by one, he pinned them on. Morgan's hands stayed at her sides. Regulation, but inside something settled. Recognition. Not for revenge, not for pride, for doing the job when the job was impossible. Morrison continued, I should also mention that the radioactive dispersal from the airstrike has been contained. Hazmat teams deployed within 6 hours. The affected area was minimal and downwind was uninhabited. No civilian casualties. The situation could have been catastrophic, but your broken arrow call gave us time to respond. Morgan felt relief. At least that part hadn't ended in tragedy. Afterward, in the hallway, the team gathered. Bull looked at his medal. My kids aren't going to believe this. Prophet smiled. Tell them anyway. I know mine won't stop asking questions. He pulled out his phone. Photos of 3 kids. Can't wait to see them. Santos clapped Morgan's shoulder. You did good, Frost. Real good. Harrison nodded. We all did, together. Bull pulled them into a group. I know we've got our separate lives, my family in Virginia Beach, Prophet's kids. Santos has that girlfriend waiting. Harrison's got his motorcycle club. But we went through hell together. That matters. We stay in touch. We look out for each other. Agreed? Everyone nodded. Hands came together. Brotherhood forged in fire. Kane pulled Morgan aside after the others dispersed. DEVGRU wants you. Permanent assignment. Best training in the world. Best operators. You interested? You. Morgan thought about it. About joining the most elite unit in the military. About continuing to hunt evil men in dark places. Can I think about it? Take all the time you need. Later that night, Morgan sat alone on the beach at Virginia Beach, watching waves roll in, listening to seagulls, thinking about everything that had happened. Webb had gotten his money, $4 million total, as promised. $2 million up front he'd already received, plus the $2 million completion payment they'd secured for him through Sentinel's account seizure. Last she heard, he was in Thailand, running a bar, teaching scuba diving, as far from war as he could get. Shepard was in a federal prison awaiting trial. His lawyers were arguing everything, claiming innocence, claiming setup. It didn't matter. The evidence was solid. He'd spend the rest of his life in a cell. And Morgan was here, free, alive, vindicated. Her phone buzzed, text message, unknown number. Good work, Sergeant. But Shepard was just one man. The corruption goes deeper. If you want to keep fighting, there are others who need stopping. Consider this an invitation. Reply yes if interested. Morgan stared at the message. Read it 3 times. Someone out there knew what she'd done, knew her capabilities, was offering her a mission. She thought about typing no, about walking away, taking the dev group position, living a normal life, as normal as an operator's life gets. But then she thought about Mosul, about 3 Marines who died because she'd hesitated, about all the other soldiers who died because someone in power made the wrong choice for the wrong reasons. She typed one word, yes, hit send. Somewhere in the darkness, someone received that message, smiled, made a phone call. The war wasn't over. It was just changing theaters. Morgan stood, brushed sand off her uniform, walked back toward the base. She had training in the morning, a new mission after that, and eventually answers about who'd sent that text. But tonight she was just a Marine, walking on a beach, watching stars, knowing she'd done her job, and knowing the job was never finished. The ocean rolled on, indifferent, eternal, full of depth and darkness and things that lurk below. Morgan understood that ocean, felt kinship with it. She'd spent 3 years hunting evil men, would probably spend 30 more doing the same. But tonight, just for tonight, she let herself feel peace. Tomorrow would bring new wars, new enemies, new impossible missions. Tonight she'd earned rest. She walked into the darkness, rifle on her back, stars overhead, ocean beside her. A soldier, a survivor, a weapon pointed at evil. Always ready, always watching, always Frost.